My son and I rode over to the Barber Vintage Festival this past weekend. It's the first time I'd ever been there. I hadn't even been to see the museum, so we wanted to run over to the festival. We left on a Friday, got there, stayed at a hotel that wasn't too far away, maybe 40 miles. And then we went on in Saturday morning. We got there just before 8 a.m., which turned out to be perfect. It was our first trip that we had ever been there. We're at the Barber Motorcycle Vintage Motorcycle Festival thing, whatever you want to call it. But we're here and walking around, seeing all sorts of things. And of course, my son wanted to go to the Janus booth that was there first. He actually has JM032. It's the 32nd one they built, the Halcyon. You can see there's 130 there, their factory one. So he had a good time talking to those guys. Then I went over to look at the Icon Springs. They're going to be releasing Ural springs in the very near future. And of course, I tried my best to talk them out of a set for my wife's CT. Now, as we continued to walk around, there were a lot of different things to see, different displays. We're in the BMW booth right now. And what I did not realize when I came in, again, this was our first trip, I didn't know that you could actually come park down all in and around the road through the race area. So we parked up in the parking lot and rode the trolley down, or the tram that runs around. They've got a lot going on. You can see the motorcycle jumps here. We've got races going on, and they were fantastic to watch the races. I've never been a fan of superbike races, just ultra fast, highly tuned machines going around a road race. I don't know, it doesn't do it for me, but watching these vintage motorcycles and the less capable, if you will, motorcycles, the 250cc's, the 125cc's, was just in a way hilarious. And you can see the guy pointing there. I'm oblivious to what's going on. I finally noticed that people were pointing. So motorcycle there had an accident. The rider was okay. They did take him out in an ambulance. I heard later that the motorcycle was not a complete loss, that it was going to be able to be rebuilt. And most of the fire you're seeing here is the dry grass that caught on fire, because it's actually, I think the high that day was 96 degrees, which is unusual for October the 6th, I think this was. It's generally a little cooler than that down here, but for whatever reason it was very hot that day. But it's great to sit here in the shade and the trees and watch the races go on. This particular race, I think it was race 6 of the day, got restarted, and here was the restart of that. We also found there were going to be sidecar races later in the day, so you'll see a little bit of that as well. Now here we walk down to the swap meet, and I didn't know this till later. There were actually 2 swap meets, a lower one and an upper one. We didn't get a chance to visit the upper one, but we did walk through the lower one mostly. And while we were there, the sidecar races started, so we ran back up to catch a little bit of that. We were already on the trolley. We went around, went down in the paddock area, and went to the, I guess this is the main race building. There's the start-finish line, and that was the last guy to finish the sidecar race there. He got a checkered flag. Now, we crossed back around after that race while they were getting ready, and if I'm not mistaken, these are 250cc and 125cc bikes, and some of them are vintage, and it was interesting to me to watch them. And there's some comedy taking place here, just the small bikes, everything that goes on with the racing. But as all these bikes go by, you'll see another shall we say slower group that comes through, and I'll pan around and follow them. But then we're standing there waiting, and it was just hilarious to me that here comes another bike. He started at the same time with the rest of them. It's just a smaller engine bike, and it sounded like a pack of angry weed eaters coming out of the woods. coming after you. My son was saying that it sounded like just tons of weed eaters running. And this guy, he's just waving at everybody, obviously just having a good time. We had a blast, and my advice is it's definitely worth going. Go see it. Show up early on Saturday before 8 o'clock. If they direct you into the parking lot for the museum, you can go all the way through that parking lot, make a right turn. You can come down here and park alongside the road. You'll see areas where you can park. Take some water with you. Plan the day. Take some chairs with you if you can, and go sit over there in the wooded area so that you can watch the races. Here you can see they had the big barrel set up, and these guys were putting on a show, and this was free to come watch. It was fascinating to see this. I can't imagine doing this myself. I think I could get started okay. I could probably get to where he's at right now, but after that it would all go wrong. I don't know if I would figure out how to get back off the wall at this point. But here's another guy coming up. He was actually grabbing the dollars out of people as they were holding them out. And that would take skill. I don't think I could do that without a lot of practice and nerve to be able to come up there and do it. But it's just the centrifugal force holding them against the wall. And then if that wasn't enough, they get the little go-kart and the motorcycle going at the same time and change lanes while they're on the wall. It was interesting, but we had a great time. Then we headed home, and I'll go ahead and show you here what happened on our trip home. This is my first flat. You can see as I went over that second set of rumble strips, that was it. The rest of the tire went. That tire went flat in, I figure, about 8 seconds. When I started feeling it was going low, 8 seconds later it was flat. So fortunately we had a great spot to pull off and change the tire out. But there it is, flat, flat, flat. And I'll have a video on that specifically for you. But here are a few pictures. While we were there, zoomed in a little closer for them. We did see some vintage Sidecar motorcycles, as well as some modern Sidecar motorcycles, and I saw 2 Urals while I was there, not including mine, but I only saw 2 Urals while I was there, and that kind of surprised me. I figure I would see, at least 4, maybe 5 of them, but there were only 2. This orange one, say hello if that's yours, and then there was a camo one later. Here we are in the paddock area when we were watching the race, and there's the little chair on, I guess that's an Ice Bear. There's one of the racing Sidecar rigs. It's basically a motor on a frame. And then there's the camo Ural. Like and subscribe, and I'll bring you more.